Hey guys, and welcome to our three-part series on does the Bible support monotheism, polytheism, or monolatry. If you don't know what monolatry means, or maybe you don't even know what monotheism means, don't worry, we'll be going over that all in part one. So like I said, this can be a three-part series. I might have some offshoots though, because there's some things I want to go in a little bit more depth. I just haven't gone that crazy on this slideshow, but just for the basics, it's going to be three parts. The first one's going to be terminology. So, what do I mean by polytheism? What do I mean by monotheism? What do I mean by monolatry? Then we're also going to be going over to simply what does the Bible say about permissions to worship one God? Does the Bible say that we're allowed to worship other gods? What does it say there? And then part two, which is going to be a different video, is going to be specific claims of monotheism. So, does the Bible say that there's only one God? That we can't worship anyone else, there's only this one God. And then part three is going to be debunking claims against biblical monotheism. So let's get into this. So what is monotheism? So as I hope one would know, mono means one, and theism is the belief in a God. So when we put those two things together, we got the belief in one God. So the worship of one God, with this God, there's no other who has equality with him or another god. There may be other divine beings, for example, angels or demons or something of that sort, but it's not going to be at the same level of that one major god. Examples of this is going to be Christianity, of course, Judaism, then we got Islam, and then we got Zoroastrianism with the god Ormads. I believe that's the pronunciation over there. So what is polytheism? So polytheism is going to be the worship of many gods. It can also just simply be the belief in many gods. This is going to be the most common type of religion. Example of this can be most kind of pagans. So if you're a pagan, you're most likely going to be a polytheist. For example, Hellenism, which is going to be that Greek mythology kind of thing. In the image we got the god Hercules. And then we got Astaris, which is your Norse mythology kind of idea, but it's more modern. And then we got polytheistic Druidism, which is going to be kind of this weird worship of the sun and moon kind of thing. It's more of a dualism system, but it's still under polytheism. Then we got Kemetism, which is just going to be your Egyptian mythology. So all those fun gods right there. And then we also got some types of Hinduism, are going to be, it's going to mainly be polytheism, but some people are not going to be very happy when you say that, because the correct term is henotheistic. Now, if you're not sure what that is, we're going to be going into that, I think in the next slide. Nope, the slide after this one, we're going to be going into just more specifically what henotheism is. But monolatry, as I said earlier, is a specific worship of one God. Now you're that sounds like monotheism, but it is not. However, the person believes that there's many other gods, so we're going to label this as polytheism, but it's a type of polytheism. Their worship goes to the specific god out of a pantheon, normally because they're supposed gifts the god gives, or it is because the god is simply the most powerful of the other gods. So we're going to see in Hellenism, for example, how they had a lot of people worshiping Zeus, because that's more one of their more powerful deities. As I already said, no monolatry is considered a type of polytheism. Some examples of this is going to be this candomblé, something like that. And that's going to be an African religion. It's kind of this spirit kind of idea. We also got the cult of Dionysus, so we're going to see a lot of cults in this kind of category here. We also got the cult of Bonadea, which means the good goddess. And then some sections of Hinduism is also going to fall under this. They're mainly going to be minorities, but that is something to be noted. So we just described these two terms. We described henotheism and monolatry. We didn't describe henotheism, but we're going to go into that right now. So what is the differences between these two? Not that this is going to be too important for our topic, but we should be going through this terminology. So monolatry is a specific worship of one god. However, the person believes there are many other gods. One who follows Monolatry will normally be angry at those who do not specifically worship their god out of this pantheon. This is why we're going to see many Monolatry's worshippers or followers are going to be in cults. For example, as we just said, the cult of Dionysus and the cult of Bonadea. So Henotheism is going to be very, very similar, and some scholars are going to be kind of lazy, and when they're classifying religions like this, they might just use these two terms interchangeably, but there is a difference. So Henotheism is a specific worship to one god, sounds pretty similar. However, the person believes that there are many other gods. One who follows Henotheism will accept others as long as they worship a god in their pantheon. So it's pretty much just over if you accept their worship or not. That's kind of like what it mainly goes down to. So the difference mainly just goes down to acceptance, as I said. But some will ignore this difference and consider them as synonyms, which is very common. So anyways, let's get down to like the actual topic of this video. Now that we're done with terminology, is permission to worship only one God. Now we're going to mainly see this in the Old Testament, but we do have some in the New Testament later on. So specifically in Exodus chapter 20, verse 2 to 3. I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. So he's saying there shall, like the Jews, shall have no other gods. That's a permission to only worship one God right there. Now we're also going to see mainly Deuteronomy. I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage. Thou shalt have none other gods before me. Once again, that kind of idea of only having the permission to worship one God. Then we're going to see in Jeremiah chapter 25, go not after other gods to serve them and to worship them, and then provoke me not to anger with the works of your hands, and I will do you no hurt. Then we also see in 1 Corinthians, as I promised, as concerning therefore the eating of those things that are offered in sacrifice unto idols, we know that idols is nothing in the world, and that there is none other than God, but one. Then we're also going to see a little bit later in the same chapter, 2 verses after, one verse after, I'm sorry about that. But to us there is but one God, the Father, of whom are all things, and we in him. And one Jesus Christ, whom are all things, and we by him. So once again, that kind of idea of only having the permission, to us there's only that one God. I think that's it for part 1. Yep, it is. So that's part 1, just kind of like getting down to the basics of it. Based on our little video, we can tell that there's likely no reason to believe the Bible promotes polytheism. At least not in a broad sense of the term. Because obviously monolatry is going to be still a possibility. But we'll be getting to that debunking in part 2 and 3. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was informative, and that's all I really got for today. So